My name is Ryan Holmes, and you're listening to the Hustle and Holmes podcast, where I speak to a variety of individuals to help get you, the listener, insight into interesting local happenings and global issues that may be affecting us all. If you like this podcast, I hope that you would give us a like and leave some comments on our YouTube page, on Spotify, and share it with your friends to try to get the word out. And if you have an interesting story you would like to share and you are in Western Montana, please get in contact at ryan@exitrealtybv.com or follow the link in my bio. And now, here's another episode. From the solar panel to the house. Dude, it's like... It's rock with a little bit of dirt mixed in. It's just insane.
I did a hip camp out of my house that I had to trench from the power pole all the way out to the hip camp. And I went to rent the trencher, and they were like, "What are you trenching, and where are you at?" And I was like, "Well, I'm up here." And they're like, "You don't want this trencher. Like, you need this trencher.
You need dynamite."
I rented that. It was like pulling volleyballs up out of the ground.
Oh, it's nuts,
like
right?
a bucking bronco on that thing.
Yeah, I know. It's
and then all the dirt turns to flour and falls back in the hole, and you're like, "Well, taking that out by hand."
You've got a huge pile of rocks and nothing to fill in. Anyway, well, James, hey, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
We are recording now. We're live. We're on the air. Why don't you tell us what's going on? Introduce yourself and let's
all right. Well,
and your project.
James Jory, Jory Valley Farm. I moved here about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago from Ohio, and started a little regenerative agricultural farm out there doing mostly pigs and chickens right now.
Okay.
Was told I had irrigation, but that's kind of been it's a new thing to learn out west for sure. But so yeah, I can't really do cows where I'm at right now because a little bit dry. But so I've been focusing on the pigs and the chickens for now, and then expand at some point here.
Okay.
But
so regenerative farming. How'd you get into that?
Been following it for years. I did meat chickens back in Ohio.
Okay.
So I can do that on a much smaller scale. I followed Joel Soliton out of Virginia. Been to his farm before, and just all the stuff that he teaches on how to grow things intensively and scalable, and
in a way that's kind of conducive to...
Yeah, it regenerates the land.
Yeah.
You're all about rebuilding the soil instead of depleting the soil to get the product. You're all about regenerating the soil.
So you're not having to add lots of fertilizer, and it's all the natural things.
The pigs are adding the fertilizer,
exactly,
and rooting up the ground here and there, and you keep them on a certain area for a certain amount of time to try to get enough disruption to the ground and get them to eat the weeds and stuff, and then move on to another one, and you don't have to clean pig pens because they're constantly
you're just moving them around. Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
So they're in a pasture, but then they're on paddocks, and they get moved probably once every 7 to 14 days, somewhere in there.
All right.
So.
And you're located east of Stevensville,
a little northeast Stevensville.
Okay.
Like up Ambrose, off east side.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Back up in there.
That's got to be an interesting territory to try to.
Yeah, it's
farm
mostly
in.
sagebrush up there.
Yeah, right.
But it's crazy where the prices have gotten to. That's for sure. I mean, even up there, like.
I believe it.
Even from the 2.5 years I've been here, it's gone significantly higher.
Oh, everywhere, yeah.
So, I'm hoping at some point it'll come down. I can afford some more farmland, but I'm not seeing that anytime soon.
We'll see. Things are changing. Well. Maybe it'll at least be a little more reasonable. I think. I don't know if it's. I mean, it's never going to go back to where it was.
That and I got in with 2% interest, so that helped.
Oh, heck
quite
yeah.
a bit
See?
on the monthly payment.
There you go. Nice.
So.
You're crushing it, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So, and do you butcher your animals there on the farm, or?
I do my chickens just because I can't resell them that way, but I do them for myself that way. I got to go through inspected butchers to resell, so most of mine are done at a couple different local butchers. And
gotcha. And then you're making, and so you have the pigs, and then you process them, or you get them butchered at a license or like a inspected
facility,
and then
meat gets inspected and everything before, like as they're butchering it. That way, everything's above board and ready to go. And
so, are you selling it to a I guess, do you have a retail shop or do you have a wholesale?
Not currently. That's one of these days I'd like to do a retail shop here in Hamilton.
Okay.
I'd love to do like a farm store with maybe a farm-to-table restaurant, wedding venue, bunch of things. I know at one point I'd looked at a piece of land just south of here
Mm-hmm.
that was for sale. It was right on the river. I'm like, oh, this would be perfect. But I was buying the house at the same time. It's like, there's no way I can
Priorities.
afford both of these, that's for sure. But
You could buy it, live in a tent,
right. Yeah, it looks like somebody bought that now. They got a little white barn out there and
Okay.
build it up a little bit. But yeah, at some point, it'd be nice to have a
There's
retail
more
shop.
opportunities coming.
Of course, then with retail shops come the headaches of employees and
Yes.
all
Yeah,
that
I
stuff,
mean,
so all the overhead. Where now it's just me, so it's a little easier
just
to
you
manage.
and the pigs.
Nothing else. I won't go hungry.
Well, there you go. Yeah. See, that's all you really want.
Oh,
A little sustainable action going on there. Okay. So what's walk me through like a typical day on the farm then?
for the most part, I mean, I feed the pigs, the breeder pigs. I feed twice a day, so I break their ration up and just feed them twice a day because you got to keep them on a ration so they don't get too fat for farrowing and.
Gotcha.
So they don't have any complications. So they get fed twice a day, and then the water gets checked when I'm feeding, and I get eggs every time I'm out checking the pigs. And then the breeder or the feeder group, they get just a bulk feeder. They get as much feed as they want, get them big as quick as possible.
Okay.
But and I'll just fill that usually once a week or so. Have to go out there with the tractor and take a big hopper out there and fill that. And so not too bad as far as the daily stuff. I mean, once a week or so, you're moving pigs. You're setting up another paddock with electric fencing and putting posts in, which, depending on the time of year, I mean, summertime it turns to concrete. And
Yeah, right. Yeah.
in wintertime, it's hard as a rock. But, yeah, I try to get out there and move them once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on how much disruption they're doing and how many pigs are in that particular paddock, because they get kind of broken up. Usually I keep my breeders in one paddock and then my feeders in another, and then whenever one of the sows gets to the point she's about to farrow, I'll pull her out, put her in her own paddock for some privacy and get away from the others. And so that sometimes I end up with 4 or 5 paddocks going, but usually it's just the one or two, or the two, the breeders and the feeders.
How many animals do you have?
Right now I've got 7 sows and 1 boar.
Okay.
And then there's 17 in the feeder group right now.
Gotcha.
So most of those are for next year. I got 1 that's still ready for this year, but most of those will be ready come springtime.
And do you stick to one particular breed?
No, my boar's a Berkshire.
Okay.
And then I have a couple of Berkshire sows, a couple that are Red Wattle Berkshire crosses, and then a couple that are Mangalitsa Berkshire crosses.
Okay. I've heard, some friends of mine at Double K have just switched to primarily Berkshire at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Berkshire better. I like the Mangalitsas I have, and a lot of people romanticize about the Mangalitsa, and it's a really good meat product, but they take longer to grow out.
Okay.
And nobody wants to pay more for those than they would for the Berkshire, so I'm kind of kicking around to feel worse
especially in this
keeping on,
economy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard enough just to break even right now.
I know, I can imagine. So what are you feeding them then?
I get all non-GMO corn and soy free feed.
Okay.
Currently getting it out of Sandpoint over in Idaho, which is about a 4-hour drive each way.
Wow.
I do that once every 2 months.
Okay.
I pick up about 4 tons and haul it back.
So non-GMO corn and soy free.
yeah.
What does it consist
Well,
of?
the reason of going corn and soy free is because, like corn and soy, you can get non-GMO seed, but by the time it gets to be a productive plant for grain, again, you can't guarantee it's non-GMO because they get cross-pollinated so much.
Yeah.
So it's like if you stay away from those, then you're pretty safe to be away from the non-GMO stuff. And then, I mean, it's got a lot of peas and oats, and I think there's barley in some of it, depending on the mix, depending on the protein level, and they add minerals to it, what the pigs need for that. But I know I was getting it from another feed supplier, but just smelling it would smell stale. Didn't have a great smell to it. This stuff, when I smell it, I want to put milk on it and eat it. And I'm like, that's what I want to feed my pigs.
I'm sure they love it too. Well, I'm sure pigs, I've seen pigs. They'll eat just about anything, it seems, but
getting them out on grass helps too. I mean, just getting out, they graze on the grass some. I mean, that's obviously not their main diet because they're not ruminant animals.
Yeah.
So they need the grain, but by grazing on the grass, they do get a lot more red meat.
Okay.
That the meat just looks more red. It's not like the white stuff in the store that, it's supposed to be the other white meat, but it's not supposed to be white.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, you take a look at some of the more naturally raised pigs, you definitely see a huge difference. Well, it's the same thing with eggs too, right?
Yeah,
you look at
farm fresh eggs versus store bought,
Yeah,
or even tomatoes out of the store. You're like, what is that? It looks like a tomato.
It's just
Doesn't taste like a tomato.
It's just sliceable water is all it is usually, right? It's like, why are we getting tomatoes in the middle of December?
Right.
Sometimes you got to stop and think. Like, I I don't know if you really even should be eating this. You know, you're looking at it like, what? Here we are in the middle of winter. It's 20 below outside, and I'm getting a tomato at the grocery store.
Right.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's not only the taste, but I'm sure the nutrients in it as well. I mean, I know with the pigs for sure, like the nutrients are definitely different. The healthy side of it, you can go to the grocery store and get pork a whole lot cheaper than what I sell mine for, but you're going to pay for it in the end with hospital bills or doctor bills or
even
feeling crappy.
The price per calorie, right? Or the price per nutrient, I would say. Maybe the calories are the same, but the nutrients are significantly different, as you see in a lot of cases, unfortunately. These days with being cheaper to buy a pound of Twinkies than it is to buy a pound of carrots most often. It's like, well, I mean, yes, you could, but do you really want to? And then, and you're right. In the end, we get to the point of certain metabolic issues and this sort of thing where, it might be cheaper up front, but you're certainly going to pay for it when you go visit the doctor. And he's like, you got fatty liver disease. I'm sorry.
Not only that, on top of that, like tomatoes or even like my pork, I mean, you eat that, it tastes so much better than what you get store-bought. I mean, just incredibly different. I mean, this summer at market, I don't know how many people have come back to me and they're like, man, those chops were the best chops I've ever had. And I'm like, that's what I want to hear. If not, I want to hear it too, because there's something I need to fix if they're not. But
Awesome. Oh, that's great. That's great. I just love having that sort of thing here where, we've gotten away in our food system from having quality, right? And we've kind of been conditioned to having these things available all year round, like I was just saying with the tomatoes. But it's not really a tomato, it's just the idea of a tomato. It's the representation of, and you go, like, for example, I grew up here in the Valley, and I didn't like tomatoes. I didn't like avocados. There was a lot of fruits and vegetables that I just probably I was young and a kind of a picky eater, but at the same time, I just did not, even into early adulthood, I didn't really enjoy them. People are always like, yeah, you got to eat your fruits and veggies, and yeah, okay. I mean, apples are great here. Apples are fantastic here. We grow a lot of apples, but tomatoes especially were just at the bottom of my list of something that I wanted to eat. And then when I moved to California and would go to the farmers markets there in San Francisco, blew my mind the first time I had like a real tomato that was grown fresh and, only a couple days, like maybe even less than a day off of the vine. And it was ripe at that point. And an avocado, the first time I had an avocado that was grown in California and consumed in California. So it was picked there nearly ripe, and I ate it within a couple of days. I was just like, this is what it's supposed to taste like? This is not. What? So it's wonderful having the opportunity to consume other things also that are.
Well, there's something about enjoying things in season.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like if you have something all year long, it's no longer as special or as good as it is. I mean, pumpkin spice lattes, they do it at a certain time of the year because, if you'd had it all year, it would probably lose its savor. Not as many people would want them.
I just love comparing.
Right?
Here we are, regenerative farming and locally raised organic animals and produce is akin to this pumpkin spice latte. I mean, you're not wrong, though. That is exactly what it is. It's all about the seasonality of it, and it gives you something to look forward to. And, that kind of, and I agree with that completely. That's kind of why fall is my absolute favorite time for cooking. It's just all the dishes I enjoy cooking. You have, and it coincides with, that's the time when you harvest animals as well. It coincides with what normally would be the time for slaughter and the beginning of preservation of foods for the winter, and you have a kind of a surplus. So you have the really fresh stuff that you would use, right? And you've got apples, you've got the root veg that you've got coming out of the ground, and all the stuff that you've, at the time of harvest, and those dishes are just some of my favorite. And yeah, and pork especially is, when it's done well, it's an incredible.
If it's grown right and not overcooked, and
yeah, also the key, man. Yeah, we don't have to worry about all the diseases that we previously did. They're getting better about handling that on a larger production scale, but also, just when
I
you're
know
buying it
recently,
locally. And
they've dropped it from 165 for pork down to 145 for like your chops and stuff. You don't
Yeah.
have to cook it to 165, which makes them so much more juicy, less
Right.
dried out.
no trichinosis anymore, thankfully. Yeah. Yeah, and people, it's kind of funny because I used to, my previous career was in the culinary industry, and you start working with quality products, and you start cooking things a little differently than what people are used to. And there was no way, if I got a quality piece of meat, I was gonna cook it till it's done. Especially a piece of pork. It's like I'm not worried about trichinosis anymore. It's like it's a good piece of meat. I trust the people that supplied it, and I'm gonna cook it to where it actually is an enjoyable experience.
It's like they say, don't eat raw eggs, and it's like, well, as long as the egg doesn't already have the salmonella in it, it's not a problem. It's not like it's going to produce it just because it was raw. Like it has to be in there.
Oh man, yeah. I would be dead 100 times over, considering the amount of raw cookie dough I've eaten in my life. I think I've probably eaten more raw cookie dough than I've eaten actual cookies at this point, because that's the best part.
Right.
I don't understand why we bake things, honestly. It's just the best part's licking the spoon at the end of mixing it. And then you sit there and think, why do we need to put these in the oven?
Just like eating things in season, if you eat the whole bowl of raw cookie dough, you might wish you hadn't done that.
A fair point. Oh, man, yeah. So, yeah, that's exactly right. Seasonality is what it's all about.
We're blessed here with the seasons we have. I mean, I can't imagine. I know there's places people love it, living one season all year long, just steady temperature. But man, I love having, like right now, we're about to get cold, and it's like it's nice having that change of season. And
right, it kind of gives you something to look forward to. Also,
makes you realize the years going by too, not just 10 years have flown by. Like you have the seasons.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it breaks it up.
Off the bugs.
Yeah, and it's nice to there's a lot of visuals that come with it, and I always enjoy watching that change. And here we don't have as much. Well, we do have quite a bit of agriculture, but it's hidden away from a lot of places. Wow. We have a lot of hay. You can watch the hay. A
lot of hay, not
just
much
about
grain.
anywhere, but not much grain. And grain was one of my favorite things to. So when I was living in Germany, I was living in Bavaria, and there was I was living on a farm, and I worked in the village nearby. And I mean, you get outside of like a town in Germany, and it's all farmland for the most part. And so you have it's this acute visual of the seasonal change going on, and it reminded me a lot of here as well. We have all the leaves changing, all this kind of stuff, but you also get to watch the fields change, which is just really cool. You see it grow up over the spring, and certain work being done. Then it's summer harvest, and the certain grains being harvested at the beginning of summer, and you watch the corn still grow, and then the corn gets harvested, and you're like, oh, well, it's almost winter then, if that's the case. And then, the cows start coming down out of the mountains and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, and it reminded me a lot of being here, being able to see a lot of those shifts happening. Because when I was living in California and Texas and Louisiana, it was just like, okay, it's another day. It's slightly less hot than it was 6 months ago, but it's not cold.
Like, wait, Christmas is next week?
And I'm out here in shorts and a t-shirt. Right? It's like, yeah. So seasonality is definitely something that I think a lot of people take for granted that they don't have. Like that's. So in terms of, you're feeding them. You're feeding them grain. You've got moving them around the fields. And you've been doing what for 2 years now? You said about 2 years.
About 2 years since I got the breeder group.
Okay. What kind of changes have you noticed in the landscape around the farm then?
Well, I mean, when I first bought the place, it was just an empty field and 4-foot tall grass, and couldn't even see all of it. Obviously, getting them out there, they do a lot of that work for you, knocking that stuff down, which is another good thing for pigs or sheep on a farm. You can put them to work and get rid of a bunch of overgrown stuff real quick and easy without having to do all the work. Let them do it for you. Turn it into bacon.
There you go.
But yeah, with the fields, I mean, they're starting to get, you can just tell there's definitely been some disruption there, and there's the grasses are growing differently. Different grasses are coming up. It's just part of that process. Getting the manure out on the field helps start getting more.
Just get enriching the
Trying
soil.
to build the soil, which up there's not much soil, unfortunately, because I'm up about 400, 500 feet out of the valley. So,
Okay.
And I'm kind of on an old gravel bar from Lake Missoula. So, I mean, you dig down about 3 or 4 inches and you're hitting big rocks.
So you've got a nice base layer to work with. Is what you're saying. You've got marked growth in your future if that's the case.
Like right now, the downside is if it rains, it dries out pretty quick afterwards because it's really well draining soil, which is good because it's less muddy. But I need that water to stick around so I can grow the soil. So it's a matter of getting that organic matter in there and just building it up over time.
Is that all it's going to take? Is just time with the animals to?
I mean, if I could afford, bringing truckloads of compost or something, I'm sure it would help.
Okay.
Move it along, but I mean. Fortunately, with pigs, like I say, they do graze, and it's good for them to have forage on the land and try to grow certain types of crops if you can. But, I mean, the native grasses are good for them, too, if you can get those well fertile. And
Okay. Are you ready for a bigger house? Downsizing? Need to be closer to family or work? Whatever the reason, when it's time to move, it's time to find a realtor. Exit Realty Bitterroot Valley is a full-service brokerage that prides itself in being a true advocate for their clients, whether they are buying or selling. To learn more about the services we offer, simply text HUSTLIN to 85377. That's HUSTLIN to 85377. So plans for growth. You want to expand, obviously.
Yeah, I'd like to either expand or move sideways into something bigger, maybe something with a little better irrigation and more soil, and potentially we'll see where the future leads on that. I mean, the place I have is beautiful, great views.
Yeah.
But I mean, at some point, I would love to have more land for that, and then obviously, like I said, doing some kind of retail location down here in Hamilton would be ideal. I think that there could definitely be some cool things there, not only for growth of the farm, but just growth of the community as well. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
People having jobs, people having places to go eat quality food, not just processed, whatever. I mean, a lot of restaurants, they get into the mindset of, okay, how do we do this the cheapest way so we can make the most money?
I mean, speaking from experience, the restaurants are brutally hard. They are brutally hard industries to be in, and it's a rough business, and especially with things going through the rate of inflation they've gone through in the last couple of years, it is.
And the problem is getting people that would support something that would do it right, because it would definitely cost more. I mean, my idea would be to support all local farmers. If I don't do dairy, so I'd work with a local dairy farmer. Do those kinds of things. Work with other farmers, bring their products in, so everything could be locally sourced as much as possible. Which
absolutely
would be tough, but it would be expensive too. I mean,
it would be tough. It would be expensive. I think in the beginning, but after once people realize the difference in quality and also the benefit to the community,
start to learn the benefits and
so that you don't have to ship in all of your product from hundreds or thousands of miles away. I mean, all that produce we see in the grocery store is not coming from anywhere near here.
And learning to cook things in season, having to where you got that seasonal change, so you're coming back because there's different things constantly.
Being okay with not having your tomatoes in January is key. Although avocados, I don't think are something anybody would ever give up. Unfortunately, they're just too good. It hurts my soul every once in a while. Like others, like I want one right now, but. Yeah, right on. So if you had the opportunity to do cows, you would want to do cows too?
Yeah, if I had the land, I probably would. At least right now, I'd be at least doing them for myself, if nothing else. But, I mean, it's just another protein source. Like, right now at market, I'm just selling my pork as protein because I haven't found a good butcher for the chicken side of things yet. Hoping this next year, if I can find somebody, it'd be nice to add the chicken, to add another protein source, another option. But I know I've got a lot of people that'll come by and they're like, "Oh, you don't have any beef?" I'm like, "No, but I do have pork steaks that look like beef."
Okay.
They taste
try
like
some
beef.
of those.
They taste like pork, but they're tender and juicy, just like beef steaks.
Gotcha,
You cook them just like a beef steak. I mean, it's like some of them look like ribeyes. They're called country style ribs, but they look like ribeyes. They're marbled with the fat and they're really juicy and.
Oh man, I should have eaten more before I had this podcast. Thinking all this food makes me hungry. You got me reminiscing about those the maple sausages that I got from you. Holy cow, those did not last. We cooked those up, and it was just
Downside
gone.
with bacon or sausage, it seems like you open the package and you might as well cook the whole thing. Cause
Yeah, you go through this kind of justification with yourself. You're like, I'll save some for later, and it's like, well, I might as well just cook them all now because they'll then I'll have them in the fridge and I just have them later, and then you just end up eating the entire package in one sitting and feeling a little guilty about it, but also going, man, that was delicious. They were, yeah. Oh my God, they were so good. My mouth is watering again. I'm thinking about them.
you have to get any complaints from anybody saying that something was bad. So,
Hey,
as I
that's
said,
it.
if they are, let me know. Because one, we'll make it right, and two, I want to know what's wrong so I can fix it. If there is something wrong. But so far, things have been going really well.
That's a good sign.
Well.
That's a very good sign. Yeah. So, well, what else? What else is going on? What's you? Give me the history. How did you moved here from Ohio?
Well,
And what prompted that?
I just felt like this is where the Lord was leading me. Been kind of one of those things. Like ever since I was a kid, I always just wanted to live in Montana. Didn't know why.
Okay.
And then at some point, God just revealed, hey, that was my desire. I placed that in you. So I was like, all right. So I started looking out here about, was it 5 years ago? I think I came out and visited. And it was just like, I went back and everybody's like, what's going on? I was like, well, my heart's in Montana and they say your home is where the heart is. And I'm like, my heart stayed out there. So I got to get back out there because that's where I belong. And it was like everything I was doing back there was just, I did construction in Ohio.
Okay.
I worked for myself for many years.
Yeah.
And just kind of was like, okay, one, I want to kind of get away from that. I mean, I'm 42 now. So it's like, I want to get out of construction. It's hard on the body.
42. Dude, I thought you were like 28. Holy cow.
Right? Yeah, everybody gets that wrong. That's why I keep the facial hair because otherwise, whew.
It helps, right?
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, but yeah, I trying to get away from the construction, but it seems like there's so much construction work out here. So like if I needed work, I could get it easy. But
True.
So trying to stay away from that. But
I'm sure you do enough on the farm as well.
oh gosh, yeah, that, and I've got a big walkout basement I'm working on remodeling, so I can do an Airbnb out of that.
There you go.
And then I've got a hip campsite there, just diversifying as much as possible on farm to bring in income where you can.
Absolutely.
And pay the bills.
That's what it's all about. Diversification for sure. And I'm sure it's a great marketing tool as well, having a farm. You can make the farm stay, come enjoy, hang out with the pigs. And
As long as you like pigs, you'll love it here.
hey, some people enjoy that stuff. I know the farm that I used to work on in Germany had a lot of guests that would come. It was it's actually kind of a big business over there as well. In a secondary business to a farm is having farm stays. So they'd have people, because the people living in cities and this kind of stuff, have this idyllic view of living off the land. I mean, a justifiable view of living off the land because it's kind of how we do it anyway, right? I mean, it's how we're supposed to be living
it's
anyway.
It's romanticized a lot, on YouTube. It's like, oh, look at this. And everybody wants to do it, but then they go and do it, and most people quit because it's hard work.
It is hard
work.
It's
not easy, but it's a way of life, and I wouldn't want anything else.
But again, so the farm stays give the opportunity for people to kind of experience that a little bit.
I know there's trying to think what country that was in, but the whole country's all about that slow growth food. Like everything's grown slow, like it's supposed to be. They don't push a bunch of hormones into it and everything to try to get to grow faster, and just everything's slow. And I'm like, man, that's they're doing something right there.
Is that Laos? Is it somewhere in? I think it was somewhere in East Asia.
A few years ago, I remember hearing about it and seeing some videos on it, and just the countryside's beautiful. Of course, then again, you never know in videos. They always pick the best parts and
ain't that the truth?
Make it look better than it really is. But
yeah, all those YouTube farmsteaders out there. It's such a wonderful life, and they're not showing you like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to.
When the storm blows in the middle of the night and you got to get out there and take care of stuff, or.
Yeah, right. You're
like
always
right now. We got really cold weather coming here tomorrow, and I'm just starting to try to get my hoses pulled up and heaters put in the tanks and get stuff tied away for winter. I wasn't ready for it yet.
I know it came quick, huh?
Yeah, hoping we get some more warm weather. But I've got some friends driving out from Ohio right now. They're trying to push and get through tonight because that storm is supposed to hit Wednesday. But we just have to see if they can make it. It's a long drive. They only made it to Sioux City last night, so. It's a long drive to try to make it the rest of the way.
A long drive through some awfully boring territory, too.
The worst part is, they're going to hit the pass, their Homestake Pass, in the dark.
Oh, boy.
It's like, if it's been raining and now it's cold, they may have to try to hold out for the night and come in the morning, but then it's supposed to snow in the morning. So, and they're calling for, 5 or 6 inches out there.
Are they really?
Towards Butte and that area.
Oh, boy.
I know here we're not calling for near that much, but it kind of jumps over us a lot.
It does, yeah. I
Good
mean,
and bad.
we are in the quote unquote banana
Yeah.
belt, for better or worse. That's kind of a funny thing.
And then, like up where I'm at, it's even worse. Like even in the summer, you'll watch the storms go down the valley and circle around and come back up the valley and never hit the farm.
You're just like, I need that water.
It's right around you, like really. But yeah, a lot of times it'll jump up over the bitterroots there and end up hitting the Rockies, and we don't see any of it.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of nice. I mean, in the wintertime, driving's not real bad. I mean, plow the driveway once or twice a year.
Well, there you go.
Haven't had too much problem. But never know. I have heard the winters have been worse up there before I was there. So
Yeah, they definitely become a bit milder in recent
see if that takes a
recent
turn.
years. But yeah, who knows? Maybe we're back going going the other way for a little
Tends to
bit here.
come and ebb and flow there.
I mean, this weather's been crazy though lately.
Yeah.
I can't believe I was hot the other day.
Yeah.
And it's
Market Saturday, I'm in a T-shirt, and I'm like, what?
what is going on?
Next week it'll be snowing.
That's well, as they say, that's Montana for you. You know, that's just how it goes around here.
Well, yeah, you wake up and put your park on, and you're in shorts by the middle of the day, and that's summertime.
And the sun goes down, you're freezing your butt again. It's
Yes. Or if it goes behind a cloud.
Yeah.
It's like a 20-degree drop in temperature just because it went behind a cloud.
Like, wait a minute. Right on. So what part of Ohio are you from?
I was down in southern Ohio, in Chillicothe, and then my parents were up east of Columbus on
Okay.
Buckeye Lake there. Got a good friend there that does coffee. It's roast coffee.
Oh,
He
right
brings in coffee from all around the world and roasts it and does all that stuff, which is kind of where I hit with the pumpkin spice stuff. Because, of course, he does it all legit, like real pumpkin and actually making it, not just some chemical seasoning, flavoring.
Yeah, right.
Who knows what's in it?
No, lots of sugar. That's what's in it.
Well, that's what gets people in. They're addicted to
right.
sugar.
Gotta get that drug. You know, that's what it's all about.
Caffeine's great, but I need the sugar.
It helps. It helps smooth it out. I guess. I don't know. Right on. And so, yeah, that's exciting. That's really exciting. Lots of cool things happening up there.
Yeah. This year's been. I kind of feel like it's a year of breakthrough. It's kind of breaking through stuff now. Getting to markets helped a lot.
Yeah.
It took me till middle of July to get into market. Just getting everything for the health department, getting my stuff all in order, and
Okay.
finally getting there. But it's definitely getting the name out there has been huge.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember seeing you because although I missed a lot of markets this year, I was quite busy on Saturday mornings. But yeah, I don't remember seeing you there at the beginning.
Well, it was mid-July before I finally got to the first market and
Okay.
hit that day, and I sold a bunch. I'm like, oh, all right, this is going to go pretty good. But,
Good.
I mean, still not in profit yet. I got a large feed bill to pay back, but
Hey.
it'll take a little bit of time. But
Gotta start somewhere. Gotta get the word out. You know,
Oh.
more people taste your product.
I mean,
think
even
they'll-
as of last week, I had people come by the booth. They're like, "Oh, we've never heard of you before." It's like been here since July, but
Hi.
so that's one of those things. Like these last few weeks, you don't make a lot at market. The markets aren't as good at the end of the year, but it's advertising. I mean,
Yeah,
you're getting
absolutely.
out there and people, face to face with people. They're seeing the brand and hopefully trying the product. And
So outside of the market, where can people buy your stuff?
right now, just on farm. Like I've been telling people, I go to church down here in Hamilton, so I can bring it on Sunday if they order something,
Okay.
and I can bring it with me and meet up with them afterwards. And I mean, I'd like to get to where either I've got some kind of food truck or something going, or get a retail location or something. But so hopefully that's something I can figure out for this next year. But
Now, if you I forget how all the rules work around this kind of stuff. If you retail yourself, so you can retail it yourself,
Yeah.
right? You can sell it basically directly to
yeah,
consumer
direct to consumer, yeah.
without having to go through all the USDA hoops, right?
Well, you still got to have all the meat's still got to be inspected,
Sure.
like
Okay.
at the butcher. But as far as like selling, like if I sell to a grocery store, then I have to go through MDOL and get the meat locker license and all that stuff.
Okay.
And, in order to sell to them, and then they sell to the consumer. But selling direct to consumer, they came out to the farm and inspected where my freezer's stored and all that stuff. Make sure all my stuff's up to bar. And
Okay.
and then like I had to go through all the like health department stuff, which really is all the same stuff you would for a restaurant.
Sure.
Fill out all that same paperwork, and then have hand wipes on hand and trash can and all that stuff. I mean,
Okay.
in order to be able to sell. But yeah, that licensing is different than if I want to. I mean, you have to have that as well. But if I want to sell direct to a restaurant or a market or something, then I'd have to go with a different licensing.
Oh,
Of
okay.
course, then they're going to want their cut of it.
So would you be able to, in this case, have like have your own like retail freezer somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, once you have the licensing through the health department, like it's good. Like there's different licensing, like the one for the market, you can get one just specifically for one event, or you can get licensed through the state to where you can sell anywhere in the state. So I could haul stuff anywhere in the state and sell. I have that licensing for that for me to personally sell. But yeah, to sell to somebody else for resale, that it's a little more. But it's not.
Well, say it was like your own freezer
Oh,
that was the point of sale, just hosted by someone else's business. Would that be possible?
I'd have to look into it because I think technically at that point, I don't know if it could be considered a consignment. And maybe it wouldn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Be one of those areas I'd have to ask the health department about.
it'd be because I've kind of heard of that happening before, where someone has their own like a retail freezer set up in someone else's business. But it kind of like rides that gray area of not really being a wholesale distribution,
Right.
but it's retail through your own business, but someone else is like hosting. You're like renting the space or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
Could be something to look into because
Yeah,
I'm
I know
sure
a
there's
lot of people are like, dude, how do we get your stuff throughout the winter? Because now they've had it through the summer,
Yeah.
and they're like, we don't want to stop getting it. The bacon and the sausage. I got some people that they buy the sausage links for their kids because their kids love them and they know that there's nothing in them.
and boy, are they delicious. Let me tell you, those maple sausage links are the best.
I mean, for me, I don't even use wormer, because I move the pigs enough. I don't build up parasites to where I need to worm them. A lot
Okay.
of people will worm them on a regimen.
Yeah.
Like, you have to worm them. Like, I've never had an issue. Because I'm moving them all the time, they don't build up that parasite load. So they don't have wormers. They don't have hormones. They don't have any vaccines. They're just born on farm and go to processor as clean as possible.
Yes, as it should be.
Oh,
As it should be. And I'm sure they're the happiest pigs you could ever meet, too.
yeah, they're not in some confinement house or on a concrete floor or
Not where they're out where they're supposed to be.
out enjoying
Basically.
nature and
Yeah.
laying in the fields and basking in the sunlight.
Sounds like a lovely life, honestly. Getting to eat all the food they want. and
Chickens run in behind them, help clean things up, keep the fly levels down.
I bet those are some good eggs, too.
It's that whole symbiosis thing, trying to keep things working together. And
Right.
that's why I let the chickens just free range across the whole farm. They can get under the electric wire. It doesn't bother them. And they can go in and clean up. And any food the pigs leave on the ground that they don't eat, chickens are in there picking it up. So
Everybody
a lot less
wins.
waste.
Everybody wins. Awesome. All right. Well, James, tell people how they can get in contact with you if they want to buy your stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have my website up yet. Eventually, it'll be at joryvalley.com, then it'll go from there to different parts of the business. But
Sure.
I've got the domain for it, just haven't got it built yet. But on Facebook, I have a Facebook, Jory Valley.
Okay.
They can call me, 406-529-0771.
Perfect.
They can call me there, or they can email me at joryvalleyfarm@gmail.com. And then obviously farmers market when it's open. I think we got one more voluntary weekend this weekend, and then next year will be May through the end of October.
Awesome.
I'll be back down here at the Hamilton market, and then hopefully next year try to start working in some other, either something maybe up north where I could find a place midweek or something where I could park and be able to sell stuff. Get the word out.
Will you be at the Steve I Farmers Market as well?
I haven't yet. I went and looked at it before I got in with the Hamilton one. I felt like it was smaller, and I didn't know if there was enough crowd for what I'm selling.
Sure.
So I thought the Hamilton was the best place to start. But I know they do one out on Ambrose at the park there. They have one that's in the afternoons, and I could hit that one. Because it's close to where I live, so I could come back down and hit that one in the afternoon. But just haven't decided if it's worth the extra effort to get down there. And then again, you never know until you try it. But
That's true.
I didn't know how Hamilton would go till I tried it. I figured if nothing else, people at least get to know the name.
Exactly. I mean, that's what it's really all about at first.
A lot of people
getting
come up
it
and
out
they're
there
like, Jory Valley. Is there a Jory Valley out there? I'm like, no, that's my last name.
and there is now.
Yeah, they're going to name the valley after me.
That's right. All right. Well, James, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope to talk to you again about this stuff soon. We'll check back and see how the business grows over the next
growth and exciting announcements.
All the pigs. You'll have a retail shop here in the future and be pumping out all those pork products. It's so yeah, anybody who's listening who wants to buy his products, I highly recommend it. Get in touch with him. I'll list the phone number and email address in the description. And yeah, he's got sausages, he's got pork chops, he's got bacon, he's got all the good stuff that you want to eat. And yeah, man, thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, goodbye, everybody.